The first wisdom was not written in a book, it was felt. In the pulse of the living world, a truth whispered on the wind, carried in the river, and dreaming in the heart of the stone. It is a wisdom that remembers that the universe is not a silent void. It is a single conscious being, and it is in constant conversation with itself. The ancestors taught that our world is but one half of a sacred whole, that within the world we see, there is another, a world of spirit, of memory, of power, a world that is not separate, but intertwined. But in our modern world, we have forgotten the path to this other side. The dialogue has been broken, the language lost. So, if the world is alive and the spirits are real, who among us still knows how to answer when they call? To learn the language of the living world, we must first unlearn a great lie, the lie that we are separate from it. The first step is not to look, but to see with eyes of the soul. This is the foundation of the sacred technology, animism, the understanding that the landscape itself is a sentient being. The ancestors did not see these as mere elements, they saw them as family. Water was the spirit of fertility, earth the spirit of sustenance. They understood that specific places held specific power, that a mountain was not just a mountain, it was a throne. A river was not just a river, it was a vein of the cosmos. On the island of Bioko, the Bubi people know that the creator god, Rupe, watches over them from the summit of the highest peak. Every river, every lake, every stone is the home of a specific indwelling spirit. The Shona of Zimbabwe know their creator, Mwari, by the praise name Dzivaguru, the great deep pool of water, linking the source of all life to the sacred, mysterious depths. And so, this relationship with the living world is not left to chance. It is carefully, reverently managed through ritual. An annual plea for fertility centered on the sacred water of the sea. A prayer not sent up to a distant sky, but offered directly to a present and listening divinity. This living scripture has its sacred passages, its holy chapters, groves where the trees must never be cut, for they are the dwelling places of the great ancestors. To harm them is to harm the family. This is not just reverence, it is a divine ecological law. To transgress these spiritual laws is to invite ecological disaster. To work on the sacred day of rest is to anger the spirits and call down the drought. Spiritual well-being and ecological well-being are understood to be one and the same. And so, this sacred land is not without its guardians, its custodians, priests who serve the earth itself, who know the protocols and hold the keys. This reveals a profound truth. The scripture of the earth is not a book for public reading. It is a library of immense power, with laws and with librarians. So, how does one gain the right to enter the sacred groves and read the living word? To know that the world is alive is the first step, but the second is a lesson in humility. For a living world is not an empty world, it is a kingdom with territories, with laws, and with sovereigns of immense power. The ancestors knew that the guardians of the water sources, the Simbi spirits of Bakongo, are the facilitators of life and death, the keepers of the sacred boundary. To approach them without respect is to invite chaos. They knew that the great Mondoro of the Shona, the lion spirits of the clan founders, inhabit the sacred mountains. They are the guardians of the land, the bringers of rain, the arbiters of justice. Their benevolence is the life of the people. Their anger is the famine, the drought, the war. This is the first great challenge. The spirit world is not a gentle garden waiting to be explored. It is a wilderness of raw, untamed power. To enter it unprepared, to speak its language with the wrong grammar, is to risk your life and the well-being of your entire community. And so, the necessity arises for a specialist, a diplomat to the spirit world, a master technician who understands the protocols, one who can stand before the untamable power of the Yoruba storm god Shango and mediate on behalf of humanity, one who knows how to pacify the earth gods of the Dagbani, the Tingbana, to ensure a good harvest. These figures, the priest, the custodian, the medium, they are the living keys to the sacred library. They are the gatekeepers for humanity. But this raises the ultimate question. What kind of a person can bear such a responsibility? What trial by fire? What breaking of the self? What sacred initiation could possibly forge a human being into a bridge between the worlds? The answer to the great question begins not with a display of power, but with an act of surrender. The one who would become a bridge between the worlds must first be broken. They are not self-appointed, they are chosen, called by the spirits, often through a profound illness, a period of madness, or a series of terrifying, life-altering dreams. This is the first stage of the initiation, a radical deconstruction of the old self to make way for the new. It is a trial by fire, a spiritual alchemy that burns away the mundane to reveal the sacred. For the one who answers the call is to become something more than human. They are to become an instrument. Nowhere is this transformation more profound than in the Shikiro of the Shona people. The Shikiro is not merely a messenger. They are a living vessel for the most powerful of all spirits, the Mondoro, the soul of a founding king. When the trance comes, the medium's own personality is completely erased. Their identity is submerged. Their voice becomes the voice of the ancestor. Their body becomes a temporary throne for a spirit of immense authority. Their training is not just the learning of rituals and herbs. It is the sacred preparation of the vessel. The body must be purified, the mind disciplined, the spirit fortified. To withstand the immense power of divine communion, the body itself becomes the ultimate nkisi, a consecrated object, a living receptacle of the gods. And here, in the moment of transformation, we witness the awesome power of a direct, unmediated dialogue with the spirit world. But for the modern mind, a profound and troubling question arises. If the instrument is human, how can we be certain that the message is divine? How can the invisible be made visible and trusted? The modern mind demands data, evidence, a truth that can be measured, printed, and verified. So when the instrument is a human soul and the message is a whisper from the unseen world, how can we trust the transmission? How is the invisible made tangible? The ancestors answered with the technology, not of measurement, but of interpretation. They developed divination systems, not as games of chance, but as complex, codified languages for translating spiritual intelligence into the physical form. The thrown bones of the Shona, the Hakata, are not random. Each symbol, each pattern they form is a word, a sentence, a paragraph in a direct conversation with the spirit world. The Dagara Diviner enters into a direct conversation with the elemental forces. The shells are not just objects, they are the mouths through which the spirits of the earth and water speak, revealing the prescriptions, the specific rituals the client must perform to restore balance to their life. But for matters of the gravest importance, of law, of war, of life and death, a more definitive technology was required. In the traditional society of Azende, the Benge poison oracle was the ultimate legal and spiritual authority. Its verdict was considered infallible. The life or death of the chicken was not a random outcome. It was the unimpeachable physical evidence of a spiritual truth, a tangible answer from the other side. This was not just a ritual, it was the final court of appeals, the ultimate lie detector, a system of governance grounded in the verdict of the spirit world. And so the unseen is made manifest through the sacred geometry of the throne bones and the stark finality of the oracle. But these are public technologies. For matters of the community, what of the most personal communications, the most intimate guidance? For this, the ancestors reserved the most universal of all sacred technologies, the one we all possess. And now we come to the final gateway, the one that opens not in the sacred grove, nor in the diviner's heart, but within the silent temple of the self. In the modern world, we have been taught that the dream is a ghost, a fleeting shadow cast by the sleeping mind, a monologue from the subconscious. But the old wisdom knows the truth. The dream is not an illusion. It is a parallel reality, a tangible space where one's spirit can travel, interact with other spiritual beings, and receive direct, actionable knowledge. For the Sangoma, the dream is the primary diagnostic tool, a sacred technology for seeing the true shape of the universe and finding the source of all imbalance. And these messages are not to be passively observed. The Dakara people teach that a dream is not an interesting view, but something real and effective. To simply think about a dream is to fail. It is to ignore a conversation that spirit itself has initiated. The only proper response is to take action. The dream is a space where the living can be held accountable by the dead, where an ancestor can demand the offerings they are due, reinforcing the sacred bond of reciprocity that holds the cosmos together. To ignore such a dream is to invite misfortune. And for those who are chosen, the dream is the site of the calling itself, an initiatory vision, often terrifying, that breaks the old self and compels the individual onto their spiritual path. Ancestors appear as powerful wild beasts, revealing the secrets of medicine, demanding that the dreamer accept their sacred destiny. And so, the dream is revealed not as a monologue, but as a participatory dialogue with the spirit world. It is the mirror of the sacred landscape, populated by the same beings who dwell in the mountains and rivers. But who are the most important of these beings? Who are the ultimate guides, the final arbiters of wisdom, both in the dream and in the world of the living? The ultimate guides, the final arbiters of wisdom, are not distant gods or fickle nature spirits. They are family. They are the ones who have walked the path before us, the ancestors. Central to the great African cosmologies is the understanding that those who have passed are not gone. They are the living dead, maintaining a constant, dynamic, and influential connection with their lineage. And this connection is not always a subtle whisper. Sometimes it is made terrifyingly, beautifully tangible. The Egungun masquerade of the Yoruba is not a representation of an ancestor, it is the ancestor, physically present, walking amongst the living to cleanse the community, offer blessings, and reinforce sacred laws. The Nyawu society of the Chewa understand this technology of re-embodiment. Their great dance is a prayer made manifest, a ritual that temporarily erases the boundary between life and death. To name the men beneath the mask is a grave sacrilege, for it is to deny the reality of the moment, that an ancestor is physically present. But the most vital instruction comes through the intimate channels of the dream and through the direct, possessed voice of a medium. The ancestors are the ultimate healers, the keepers of the family's wisdom, the guardians of the lineage. To be disconnected from them is to be spiritually orphaned, adrift in a cosmos without a compass. This is the integrated path. Its ultimate purpose is not personal salvation, but cosmic balance. Healing is not just the curing of a body, but the restoration of harmony between the self and the community, between the community and the earth, between the living and the living dead. This is the road to self-knowledge. This is the road home. Thank you for joining me. Join me again next time. This is the House of Horus, signing out.